Last video, we established something important. Islam did not invent polygyny, it regulated it, it limited it, and it surrounded it with justice. But after that video, I received hundreds of comments. And the most common question was this: okay, but what about the woman? Does she have any say in this? And I want to answer that question fully, honestly, without holding anything back, because the answer is not what most people expect. Stay with me. Introduction. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to True Satisfaction. In part 1, we looked at why Islam allows polygyny, its historical context, its conditions, and the wisdom behind it. Today, in part 2, we go deeper. We are going to look at something that gets almost no attention in these conversations: the rights that Islam gave to women within polygyny. And we are going to address the question that everyone is really asking: why is it only men who can have multiple spouses and not women? By the end of this video, you will have a complete picture. Let's begin. Part 1: the wife's right to set conditions. Here is a fact that shocks most people, including many Muslims. A woman in Islam has the right to include a condition in her marriage contract. She can stipulate, if you take a second wife, I have the right to divorce. This is not a modern opinion, this is classical Islamic jurisprudence. The Prophet himself said, the conditions most deserving to be fulfilled are those by which intimacy becomes lawful for you. Sahih al-Bukhari. If a woman writes this condition into her contract and the husband agrees, it is binding. He cannot ignore it. He cannot dismiss it. If he violates it, she has full legal right to end the marriage. This is not oppression. This is a woman exercising power over her own future on the day of her marriage contract. Islam gave her this right 1,400 years ago. Did the modern world give her anything comparable? Part 2: what justice actually means. In part 1, we mentioned that justice between wives is a religious obligation. But let's go deeper. What does justice actually require? Islamic scholars have detailed this carefully. Financial equality. Each wife is entitled to equal financial provision, separate housing, separate maintenance, equal standard of living. A husband cannot spend lavishly on one wife while neglecting the other. Equal time. He must divide his nights equally between his wives. This is not optional. It is a legal right. Equal treatment. Neither wife may be treated with contempt, humiliated, or disrespected. Now think about this. In the modern world, when a man has a secret affair, does his partner receive financial rights? Legal protection, equal time, equal dignity? No, she has nothing. Islam created a framework where every woman in the arrangement has real, enforceable rights, not feelings, not promises, rights. Part 3: the one thing a man cannot be forced to give equally. Now here is where Islam shows its remarkable honesty. The Prophet himself, the best of all husbands, made this dua to Allah: "O Allah, this is my division in what I have control over. Do not hold me accountable for what you control and I do not." Sunan Abu Dawud, classified as Hassan, the scholars explain he was referring to the heart. Islam does not require a man to feel equally in love with all his wives, because that is something no human being can fully control. What Islam requires is fairness in action, equal time, equal provision, equal respect, not equal emotion, because no law on earth can legislate the heart, but the outward actions, the treatment. The rights, those are non-negotiable. And that honesty, that acknowledgement of human limitation is itself a sign of divine wisdom. Part 4: what science says about men's biology and why Islam's solution makes sense. Now let's talk about something most people deliberately avoid: science. Because here is the uncomfortable truth that biology has been telling us for decades. And it explains scientifically why men across every culture, in every century, in every society, have always sought more than one partner. This is not an Islamic opinion. This is peer-reviewed research. First, testosterone. Men naturally produce 10 to 20 times more testosterone than women. Testosterone is directly linked to sexual drive, the desire for variety, and the motivation to seek new partners. This is not a moral failure. It is biology. Studies in evolutionary psychology, including research published in major journals, consistently show that men are biologically wired with a higher baseline desire for multiple partners. This is not culture. This is not upbringing. It is written into male physiology. Second, the Coolidge effect. Scientists have observed what is known as the Coolidge effect documented in mammals across species. When a male is introduced to a new female partner, testosterone and dopamine levels spike. Interest and drive increase even when they had reduced with a long-term partner. This biological response has been documented in neurological research. It is one of the key reasons why, across all societies, all eras, all religions, men pursue affairs, secret relationships, and second families, not because they are evil, but because there is a biological pull that most societies never honestly address. Third, the role of dopamine and novelty. Neuroscience shows that the brain's reward system responds powerfully to novelty. New experiences trigger dopamine release, the same chemical associated with excitement, motivation, and desire. Over time, long-term relationships produce less of this neurochemical spike, not because love disappears, but because the brain has already mapped the familiar. This is why men across every culture have historically sought variety. It is neurologically driven. So here is the real question. We know this biological reality exists. We know it leads millions of men every year into secret affairs, hidden relationships, and broken families. So what does society do about it? The modern world says, pretend it doesn't exist. Outlaw the solution, look away from the problem. And the result? Millions of women betrayed, millions of children in broken homes, mistresses with no rights, secret families with no recognition. Islam said something completely different. It looked at human nature honestly. It acknowledged the biological reality without endorsing chaos. And it said, if this drive exists, let it exist within a framework of responsibility, justice, and protection, legal contracts, financial rights, social recognition, moral accountability, not hidden, not shameful, not destructive, regulated, responsible. In just 1,400 years before modern neuroscience existed, the Quran already had an answer for what science would later confirm. That is not coincidence. That is revelation. Part 5, the question everyone is really asking: why can't women have multiple husbands? This is the question that sits underneath almost every criticism of Islamic polygyny, and it deserves a real answer, not dismissal. First, let's think about this practically. If a woman has children with multiple husbands simultaneously, who is the father of each child? How is lineage, inheritance, and parental responsibility established? DNA testing is a modern invention. For most of human history and even today in many parts of the world, paternity was established through the institution of marriage. Islam places enormous weight on lineage, a child's right to know their father, a child's right to inheritance, a child's right to family stability. These are not trivial concerns. They are deeply human ones. Second, and this is often overlooked, the permission for polygyny in Islam exists primarily to protect vulnerable women, widows, divorcees, women in need of care and provision. The social problem Islam was solving was not a shortage of men. It was a surplus of vulnerable women with no protection. The ruling was designed to solve a specific social problem. Part 6, serial monogamy. The system we don't question here is something I want you to think about honestly. In the modern Western world, polygyny is illegal, but divorce is easy, remarriage is unrestricted. A man can divorce wife after wife and marry again and again throughout his lifetime. This is called serial monogamy. Under Islamic polygyny, the first wife keeps her rights, her financial support, her status, her home. She is not discarded. Under modern serial monogamy, the first wife is replaced, often left financially vulnerable. The children divided between broken homes. Which system actually protects women more? The system we accept without question has its own costs, and those costs are paid quietly by millions of women and children every single year. Part 7, what Muslim women themselves say. Critics of Islamic polygyny often speak on behalf of Muslim women, without asking them. The reality is that Muslim women's perspectives on this topic are not monolithic. Some Muslim women have chosen to enter polygynous marriages voluntarily, knowingly, and with their rights protected. Some have used their contractual rights to protect themselves. Some oppose polygyny entirely and have chosen not to accept it. All of these are valid choices, and Islam accommodates each of them. What is not valid is speaking over Muslim women entirely. That is not liberation. That is a different kind of control. Conclusion: so what have we learned today? Science confirms what Islam acknowledged 1,400 years ago: men have biological drives that do not simply disappear. The question was never whether this reality exists. The question was always, what do we do about it? The modern world chose denial, secret relationships, broken homes, women with no rights. Islam chose transparency, legal frameworks, financial protection. Moral accountability. A woman has the right to set conditions in her marriage contract. Justice in polygyny means equal provision, equal time, equal dignity. And the system we criticize was actually designed to protect the very women the modern world quietly abandons. Islam is not a system designed to give men power. It is a system designed to protect human dignity for everyone involved. Final message: if this video gave you a perspective you hadn't considered before, share it. Not to argue, not to win a debate, but because the teachings of Islam deserve to be heard fully, not in fragments, not in headlines. The truth of this deen is deep, and the more you look, the clearer it becomes. Subscribe, share, and I will see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.